Everybody Hates Rand is a Wheel of Time podcast that will contain spoilers for all 14 books. So if you're anti-spoiler, pause this, read all 14 books, and come back. We'll be here, waiting.
Our title is a joke and is meant to be taken as such. In the context of this podcast, everybody refers to us and our cat. You are free to feel however you want about Rand, who is a fictional character. Don't DM us.
The world is a mess, Dark One stretching out his hand. The dragon's reborn, the fire's been fanned, but everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand.
Well, this episode, at least 50% is going to suck ass because 50% of what we read was just about the Forsaken torturing people. Mm-hmm. Which, I know we've talked before about how that's dumb, but it really is just so egregious here. Like, when I think about chapters of the Forsaken torturing people, probably the one that pops into my head is Semiraj torturing a random Aes Sedai and her warder, who I still, for the love, do not recall how this particular Aes Sedai is relevant. I know she is in some way. I think it has to do with Arengar infiltrating the Aes Sedai camp later in the book, but I don't know. I just feel like, I mean, I know it's unnecessary. It's not a feeling. It's a knowledge that I carry deep in my bones as an ethical person, that we don't really need to depict torture in fiction. Like, ever? Do you think there are any exceptions to that rule?
I mean, no. It's like that, and I'm not going to remember his name, but I believe I've cited him on the podcast before. It's like that French theorist who was like, you can't actually make an anti-war film because by portraying war, you are inherently, and even if unintentionally, like glorifying it by turning it into a spectacle and something to watch. And I think that is also the case with torture. Like, the line is so fine between it being just like what it is and then becoming like slipping into spectacle. Like, that line is so fine that I think hardly anyone stays on the side of it like just being torture.
Yeah.
And it just like, in this it's just like so drawn out and there's like really weird sexual undertones to it. And
yeah, like, I'm sorry we're talking about this at the top of the episode before we've even introduced
I mean, we can
ourselves.
just do that, I guess.
Yeah, go ahead and...
This is Everybody Hates Rand, your friendly neighborhood Wheel of Time podcast. I am Sally Goodger.
I'm Emily Jushaw, and once again, back to torture. Yeah, I don't think I fully understood as a 14-year-old reading these books that when Semiraj is, like, activating the pleasure centers in the brain, that's, like, you know, a sex thing. Or adjacent to sex. So now I'm stuck with this rancid image of Semiraj being, like, gonna torture people by making them too horny.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck was happening in Robert Jordan's brain marinated in the Vietnam War and the United States South that this happened? It's really depressing.
The theorist who wrote that was Francois Truffaut, I guess.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't actually, reread the torture scene. I just, like, skipped over it. Because I was like, I don't have the bandwidth for this today. So I forgot that she was, like, fully activating the pleasure centers of the brain until people, like, orgasm to death or whatever.
Yeah, it's not, you know, graphically depicted because RJ is also scared of depicting sex, but that is the implication, I guess.
Yeah, and just, like, this is gonna take me a minute to get to, but, like, taking in context of, like, the whole story's, like, sexual politics, like, the whole series sexual politics, like, the way that it's distilled in this moment of, like, because ultimately what, like, he's playing with is the, like, pleasure and pain dynamic, you know?
Yeah.
So just, like, the idea that in this scene it's, like, pleasure is something that will ultimately become painful and ultimately be destructive, just has, taken in the context of, like, the rest of the sexual politics, just, like, doesn't paint very healthy sex life for a real world.
Yeah, while the pain itself is actively giving Semiraj pleasure. Again, if not in a blatantly sexual sense, in a subtly sexual sense. She is very clearly depicted to be, like, a sadist. And there's some indication that, you know, there's a sexual component to that for her. But yeah, you're right that even without the whole activating the pleasure centers of the brain thing, it is already inherently sexual, given that there are people who are, like, spread-eagled, and then Semiraj makes a big show out of ripping their clothes off. Like, this is straight out of, like, 50 Shades of Grey adjacent porn. Like,
right. In 50 Shades Darker, which I just watched with my friends this last weekend, Christian Grey does admit to being a sadist.
Does he?
Yeah. He's like, I get off on hurting women that look like my mom, which is like a whole...
It's been so long since I've seen that movie.
So, anyway, Semiraj's continued parallels to Christian Grey are not doing anybody any favors.
He at one point have her spread-eagled on a wall in that movie, or is it the third one?
I think it might be the third one that happens, but yeah, I mean, it's like, it's a very, like, sexually charged image, like, especially in the context of, like, BDSM, which is so misunderstood by anybody who doesn't engage in that community, that it's like, people are spread eagle and chained to a wall and they're blindfolded. And, like, sure, that happens, but, like, I don't know.
There's a lot more that goes into it than just, you know, people being physically put in that position.
Yeah, so it's just, like, Robert Jordan is intentionally or unintentionally, like, giving us these images. And it's stinky.
I should want to get the Forsaken out of the way. They're so terrible. So we get that thing with Semiraj. We also get Samael and Grendel, the world's least interesting duo. This whole chapter is riddled with little hints about their pasts, their former occupations, how they turned to the shadow. Grendel apparently was a former psychologist and also an ascetic. Is that how you say the word?
I think so. Ascetic?
Someone who lives without worldly pleasures. Like a monk. And then when she decided to turn to the dark, she just, like, swung into a full 180.
Yeah.
We already know Samael's deal. He was on the side of the light until he was like, Lutheran just gets so much more glory than me. So in a very typically masculine move, I'm going to turn fully evil over that fact.
What a bitch. Literally in this scene, Grendel comments on how Rand is tall, and Samael's, like, straightens up, and he's like, everybody thinks the taller men are better. Like, he's such a pillar of just, like, rancid masculinity. I fucking hate him.
Yeah, he's got a Napoleonic complex, and he's not even short.
It's like a head shorter than Rand.
Rand's, what, 6'5"?
Something like that, tall,
which,
you know?
Yeah, means he's, I don't know, 5'7", 5'8". For, it's not that short, man. Like,
yeah.
You are not pint-sized.
No, he's a normal-sized person. He's probably, like, even a little, whatever. It just, like, I was like, I'm gonna throw Samael straight into a volcano. I hate this motherfucker.
He's horrible.
Such a bitch.
And Semiraj's whole deal is that she was a doctor, but then, like, people found out that she was sort of had this angel of death thing going on where she would heal people, but only after, like, extra dosing them with some pain for her own gratification.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were like, great, here are your options. Either we steal you, essentially, or we bind you, which is a concept from the Age of Legends that is brought up in this chapter and never again, where you can, I guess, prevent people from doing... What the fuck, Tybalt?
Those are just on my bathroom counter.
Tybalt just walked in. Okay, you can't have those. Tybalt just walked in with something in his mouth, and I thought it was his fish or his little elephant toy. And no, it's a packet, like a pocket-sized packet of Kleenex. He just got...
Those are just like on my bathroom counter.
Tybalt, what's happening? What have we done to you that you in the last 24 hours have gone full ape shit?
I never want to see his face again. This is the final straw.
Do you hear that, Tybalt? You're inches away from being taken to a home. Tybalt.
Taken to the farm.
Taken to the farm.
No, we would never get rid of him.
We would never take Tybalt to a farm, especially because I come from a family that actually gave a dog to a farm. An actual farm,
yeah.
Not like a... That's not a metaphor, although she probably did join a local coyote pack. Stupid. So Samael and Grendel... we're also kind of getting hints of what everyone's doing. We now know explicitly that Grendel is in Eridoman, that she has, like, members of the king's family in her human circus.
Mm-hmm.
Most circuses are human. I don't know why.
It's like a flea circus.
I guess.
But yeah, I mean... Although it is a little redundant, like, Human Circus is exactly what it is. Like, she has taken all these people and compulsioned them beyond, like, their own reason, and they just, like, live to serve her.
Compulsed.
Compulsed.
Such a good way to put it. Yeah, she's like, no one has brains or personalities anymore. They're just walking bodies for her entertainment.
Yeah.
Most of them are very beautiful people because she's like, la-di-da-di-da. I love pleasure in looking at people.
Yeah, but they're just doing all this, like, crazy acrobatics shit.
Samuel's like, disgusting.
Yeah, he's like, I hate the human body.
Samuel's, I guess, never been naked in front of anyone in his entire life, which I would believe. He gives off huge does not fuck vibes.
Yeah. And it's not like, it's like Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah.
Not Dr. Manhattan, Adrian Veidt, Osmond
yeah.
who's like, I've never slept with a person because that would dilute my logic
Exactly.
or whatever. Like, it's not like an asexuality thing, it's like an active choice.
Instead, I jack off into vials and keep them in a fridge behind my house. Statue.
That would 100% be what Samuel
Spoilers for Watchmen on HBO, I guess, but also, you just look at Adrian Veidt and you're like, this is a man who does not have sex. And if he does, I don't want any part of it.
Yeah, and Samael has the very same vibes.
The very same vibes. It's like, there's...
Exactly.
There's nothing productive to say about Samael and Grendel plotting, except that, you know, it will lead to their more plotting down the line.
It's like all they do.
Samuel's like, don't you have important intel for me? And Grendel's like, yeah, Semiraj was not at the last meeting. And am I saying all the names right?
Yeah.
I get so confused. And Samuel's like, I don't need your attendance records for your secret club meetings with Demandred and Masana and Semiraj. Like, how boring is that? They both also, or at least Grendel, has received secret orders from the Dark One. Mm-hmm. It's, like, boring.
But they've all received secret orders from the Dark One.
Yeah,
it's
they
like
have all...
Manipulation 101.
They have all individually been told by the Dark One that they are the most important.
Yeah.
And it's like you guys don't have... haven't heard of toxic parenting or anything like that. The Dark One is just like, hey, I'm gonna manipulate all these immature idiots. Because they're immature idiots, they will never catch on. Yeah. And they're all just like dithering, like, I'm Daddy's favorite.
Yeah.
It's like, shut up.
They make me crazy.
Anyway, Grendel set up an Iridoman. She probably has access to the king, or possibly the king is dead. At the end of this chapter, like, someone comes in and is like, Iturald is here to see you. So Iturald himself, there's some indication, is about to be put under some sort of compulsion, or at least led astray. Mm-hmm. Which I guess will be important in the next couple of books when Iturald is like, I'm going to begin a huge war on the eastern half of the continent. I don't know if he starts it, and he's not visibly doing anything bad. He's like defending against the Shanshin, essentially.
That's fine.
Great for him.
Rodel.
But I guess, you know, it sort of lends itself toward the quote-unquote chaos.
Which is hilarious, because that Iturald isn't mentioned again until book 8.
Oh yeah, wasn't he just name dropped?
Yeah.
Where you are?
Yeah. I'm like a third of the way through book 8, so like 1,000 pages from now, someone will be like, remember this? And I'll be like, no.
Who?
I absolutely have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
Oh, I've been meaning to tell you this for like 3 episodes, but you know, in the prologue when Morgoth is like some random Andor guy is like, hey, what's up? It's me. I'm an Andoran, and me and my dad can help you guys escape. That dude was also in the Eye of the World. He was the skeezy dark friend who approached Rand and Matt when they were sitting up. Did you know that? I didn't fucking connect those dots.
I only remember that because we made fun of him so much in the Eye of the World because he's an idiot.
He's super dumb. He's
sorry, go ahead.
No, he's super dumb.
Yeah, I mean, he's a dumb fuck. But it's one of those things where Robert Jordan's like, do you remember this person from 6 books ago?
And I didn't! And I've read the series 3 times.
Yeah.
This 4th time reading this book? Yeah. I don't fucking know. I read the name and was like, this seems familiar to me. Having read The Eye of the World 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
So, then I had to Google it. It didn't even come to me on my own. I hate him.
Yeah. So, anyway, Grendel pretends to be some, like, ailing old Damani woman, which is annoying and ableist, like everything Robert Jordan does. She's like, people assume I am fragile because I am sick.
Boo, Samuel, boo, you whore!
Yeah.
Which is basically all Samuel's doing in this entire chapter.
Yeah, it's like, Grendel's such a fat slut.
I hate Grendel.
Please calm down.
She's a slut, and she's plump! And I'm like, what is wrong with you? You short bastard man.
I know, he's such a fuckhead. I hate him so much. I basically, like, blocked out every scene he was in my first read because I'm like, this is such a bitch man, I can't do
His death cannot come soon enough. I know I said that about Robin too, but God, why do we have to deal with Samuel for another 2 books when we could have had Asmodean?
Yeah, we could have had Asmodean.
Just being like, following Rand around, doing his nonsense.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, it is very funny when Grendel's like, yeah, so, Rand killed Lanfear and Robin on the same day, and Asmodean is also dead, and Samuel's like, none of that is true.
Samuel's like, no. They're all like, where's Lanfear? And Grendel's like, well, there are rumors coming out of Kyrie and that Rand killed her, and I'm like, how would that not be huge fucking news?
They all just hate Lanfear so much.
No, they would just be like, ah, hell yeah, ding dong, the witch is dead.
Yeah.
Like, Samurai is like, I fucking hate Lanfear, I would kick her ass. Give me, like, name the time, name the place. And I'm like, girl, a little late.
Yeah, Moiraine beat you too.
Been there, done that. But, like, I guess at the time, Rand and Moiraine did fight Lanfear, and, like, a bunch of citizens of Kyrian were standing around watching, and then it wasn't like, after that, Rand was like, nobody worry, it was Lanfear.
Yeah, they just saw them fight this
They
random
just saw
woman.
this white-wearing woman, but also white woman.
Yeah.
The whitest woman to ever white. Come out of a wagon and be like, who is the bitch who fucked you? And then things were exploding, and it was very chaotic, and Rand was standing there laughing, crying, and Moiraine was like, gotta do everything my fucking self, and tackled her, and then they disappeared, and the doorway melted.
Yeah.
And everyone in Kyrian is like, yeah, just fucking Tuesday, we've already been invaded by the Ale 3 times this week.
Yeah. They're like, this might as well
happen.
I feel like the only other thing we actually get out of this is just, like, vague references to Shara.
Yeah, Grendel also shows off some of her acquisitions from Shara, which gives us legitimately...
She's so nasty.
Which gives us some of the only, like, details we will get about Sharan culture. I don't even think Shara is itself named. Mm-hmm. She's just like, these people are coming from far to the east or whatever.
Yeah, beyond the waste or whatever.
Beyond the waste, and they won't even... There is also this idea that, like, Samael says the Dark One's prison is physically on this continent, which is why what happens on this continent is such a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everyone else, it will hit eventually, but it's going to be here, and it's going to be worse here first.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of an interesting concept, but I guess, and I guess that's been sort of implicit in, you know, the series up until this point, but it's nice to have someone finally say, you know why this particular place is important? It's because, you know, Dark One's Candy Mountain is way up there. But yeah, these are some of the only references to Sharan culture that we will get until the Sharans themselves, spoiler alert, become not even characters because none of them are named, but start being on screen under full control of their own faculties, unlike with Grendel.
Yeah.
When they arrive in book 14. And at this point in the series, I don't know if we can credit Robert Jordan with setting up that anyone was going to do anything with Shara. Another of our Patreon followers, Katie McNeil, I looked up your name this time. She, like, asked her on her Patreon what we thought of the idea that Robert Jordan had indeed intended Mazrim Tem to be Demandred, but then switched that up. And I googled that, and, you know, there's some article that's like, oh yeah, a fan, like, confirmed that by looking through Robert Jordan's published notes, that he originally was like, yes, Mazrim Tem is going to be Demandred, but so many readers figured that out, is the implication, or maybe he just changed his mind, but probably because everyone figured it out, he was, like, gonna change that, which is the Marvel way of doing things, which means the wrong way.
Yeah.
You never... Oh, people figured out your plot twist?
It's okay if your readers are smart and you've, like, laid out enough for them to draw accurate conclusions.
Yeah, like, this is fantasy. Congratulations to everyone who has been awaiting the latest installment in Brandon Sanderson's Stormlight book. That was the series that made me realize that I'm not smart enough to read fantasy. So I just want to commemorate all of you for having way more brain cells than I do, because I read the first 2 Stormlight books and was like, I fucking don't know what's going on, can't keep anyone straight. And so these are the people, to have people read those books and are like, ah yes, this connects to passage 13 in book... book 2. And they're just like, oh yeah, Tem's Demandred? Fucking makes sense. You're giving us some solid hints there, pal. And Robert Jordan's like, oh no, they figured it out.
And the fact that he's like, Mazrim Tem is now not Demandred, it just makes it look so weird.
Yeah.
Because it's like, the hints are there, and they're so obvious. Like, not like obvious in a bad way. It's just like, Mazrim Tem is an evil fucking dude, you know?
And just like, there's no other real explanation for all these little hints. Like, Bashir not recognizing Tem, or Tem's sort of like weird approach to a lot of the things that Rand tells him. Like, he seems to not really understand some basic modern things.
Yeah.
But is also sort of totally cool with Rand when he jumps into his Luz-Thurin headspace. And also it explains a lot of the fact why Mazrim Tem and Rand just sort of instantly hate each other. I mean, it would be nice if Rand just instantly hated Mazrim Tem because he's a war criminal. That would make sense. But no, there's this automatic, like, hate chemistry that is explained by the fact that Demandred and Luz-Thurin, you know, hated each other so much that hate sex wasn't even on the table. They hated each other too much for hate sex.
It'd be really funny, though, if, like, they did hate fuck, and then Mazrim Tem shows up as Demandred and is like, I'm so attracted to you. And Rand is like, wow!
I know, Robert Jordan really gave us all the most boring relationships for Lutheran to have had with the Forsaken.
Yeah.
It's like Lanfear, the woman scorned.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of dudes who are just like, I hate Lutheran because he's better than me.
He's taller than me. He's more powerful
than me.
It would be
so much more interesting if you had someone who like, oh no, we defo fucked.
Yeah.
And like, not in a weird Lanfear way.
Yeah.
We just, did it.
Yeah. But, yeah. I mean, I just think it's sad when authors do that because then the fans don't get the payoff that they've worked really hard to find and, like, think about and put together. And I think that's, like, one of the more exciting things about, like, online fan communities is, like, sharing your fun theories. And, like, it was like when everyone was like, Jon Snow is totally... This guy, not actually Eddard's bastard son, but the heir to the throne or whatever. And then everyone was like, I don't know, people just had, like, such a weird attitude to it when, like, they were right. It's like, they're gonna have to change it now. And it's like, no, they're not gonna have to change it.
Like,
it's okay when people are right.
Thank fuck they didn't, because have you heard that quote that's like... one of the writers of Game of Thrones being like, themes are for 8th grade book reports? That's the funniest, most white man thing I have ever heard.
I'm gonna vomit.
It's so funny. You should watch Lindsay Ellis's video just all about the last season of Game of Thrones because she just flashes that quote across the screen every once in a while and it's
themes
like...
are for 8th grade book reports.
What the fuck?
No, themes are pretty inherent to works of literature.
Themes are like the top thing you learn in literature.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's like a whole category on Spark Notes.
Yeah, and just because, like, you shouldn't...
Themes are for 8th grade book reports and Charles Dickens, who was a pussy.
Oh, speaking of which, Dev Patel's David Copperfield is now available for purchase somewhere.
Let's watch it. He's so sexy.
I know. I, am really horny for him. But anyway, we'll have to put together our 8th grade book report on David Copperfield. The people who made Game of Thrones, those motherfuckers are, like, my literal nemesis.
I know. It's like if there was a trolley problem.
Kill him!
And my option was, I don't know. There's actually not a metric of the trolley problem where I wouldn't choose to drive the trolley. If it was an... If it was an empty track on I had to turn the troll to hit them, I would do it.
They're such motherfuckers.
Bastards.
Themes are for 8th grade book reports. Stupid shits.
Sorry. Oh, hey, look.
Yeah, you got some tissues. Tybalt brought them to you in a moment of
Tybalt knew I would
prophecy.
Laugh hysterically.
Oh, God. Men are so annoying.
God, themes are for 8th grade book report.
Something Samael would also say.
I know. God, I hate him. But anyway, over in Kyrie and Matt is sweaty, which is how we will begin every Matt point of view for the next 2 to 3 books. Is Matt just being like, I'm fucking sweaty.
Yeah.
And my shirt is unlaced.
Yeah.
And my coat is open. And, sexy.
Yeah, looking pretty sexy. Here I am with my table full of sweaty boyfriends.
Yeah, I love that Matt is sitting at a table by himself.
Yeah.
And then his 3 boyfriends are sitting on a table debating how to beat him in.
Yeah, gambling.
Fucking gambling.
Yeah.
Your OT4 could never.
So true. Because it's now Sean Darrad, Talmonies, and then Matt.
Yeah.
Sitting at his other table. There's also a point when Matt, puts his elbows up on the table.
Does he?
And is like, let's horse race.
Someone's like, maybe horse racing? And Matt's like, oh, let's.
Please.
Thinking to himself, I have no idea if the luck would work on that, but my dad literally, traded horses.
Was a used horse salesman.
Used horse salesman. Modern AU, Abel Cathan is a used car salesman. It explains a lot.
Danny DeVito is Abel Cathan, and Matt is played by, what's that girl's name?
Mara Wilson?
Yeah.
God. Legend.
Yeah, so it's very cute.
Yeah, we get some... they do the rundown of Matt's whole backstory, and also, the three boys. Matt's 20, Talmanes is a few years older. Talmanes, Matt says he looks at Talmanes and always thinks of a coiled spring, which was the, most sexually intense line I'd ever read in my entire life.
Alright.
I was like, oh.
Okay, boy.
Because, that's what I like about short men.
Oh, yeah, they're just, ready to...
They're just, small packages with a lot of tension and power in there, and I'm like, yes. I'm about that.
These tissues have proven surprisingly useful.
I know, thank you, Tybalt. For once you're useful. He's sleeping peacefully now.
Yeah, now that he fulfilled his chaos quotient. Yeah, but he's like, Talmanes is just, coiled up. He's an intense man who never smiles.
Yeah, Talmanes is also a nobleman who, does not wear any insignia to indicate that he's a nobleman, which of course is great in Matt's book.
Yeah.
And in all our books, because Talmanes is not a classist.
Yeah.
Then there's Darid, who is in his 30s, I guess, leading the infantry, also not a nobleman, also Kyrianan. And then there's Nalishan, who's Terran and has his neat little...
Yeah, pointy beard.
Darid's
also apparently had his nose broken 8 times.
Now Darid's got a lot of scars
and he
on
just
his face.
looks fucked. And Matt's like, I love him.
That's sexy.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see them all getting along after the last time we saw the Band of the Red Hand. They were kind of at each other's throats.
Mm-hmm.
And as the chapter goes on, we learn that Matt has installed a lot of procedures with this intention to get everyone to stop thinking along national lines and start thinking of themselves as one unit.
Mm-hmm.
Especially as the band is accumulating more and more members from other nations, including Andor and even some, farther-reaching ones. So the Band of the Red Hand is really just going to be this amalgamation of dudes who've been slumming it in the, frequent national and natural disasters that are plaguing this continent.
It's just a group of disgusting, dirty boys.
Yeah, who are might as well join the military. And Matt is like, why are they joining the military? It's terrible here. Yeah. Everyone's sweaty. Men smell.
Yeah.
If the pay's not great, I have a hard time paying them. And men just keep being like, I'm gonna join the Band of the Red Hand. Yeah. Matt, you're Taviran.
I mean, also, if you saw this very sexy, unkempt man walking around...
With his hat and his spear.
Yeah, and his, scarf and his fancy necklace, I'd be like, I do not believe in the military-industrial complex, but that is a sexy man.
Yeah, but I might follow that man around, see what he's about.
Yeah, just kind of, need to be close to his sexual prowess.
Especially because they have all these, myths about him that he's unkillable.
Yeah.
That he never wears armor because the hat is his armor or whatever. And Matt's just like, if I'm close enough to need armor, I'm not doing my shit,
Yeah.
That's bad.
Yeah.
Also, I'm already so sweaty and so hot.
Yeah.
This is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
This all happens in, the late afternoon in this town across the river from Erangel, where we've been several times before. It's the port town. Matt and Tom stop there.
Oh, yeah. How am I supposed to remember all these names?
Yeah,
they all start with A.
That's true.
Alguenya.
Alguenya. And, the band has been here for days, if not weeks.
Mm-hmm.
They're all pretty set in their inns. Matt and all his officers are staying at this one inn, and then everyone else is kind of separated out. And they are just sort of, waiting for the order. And at the end of this chapter, we find out that Matt, the order is now. Mm-hmm. Matt, that night, is okay, we're leaving in the morning. And everyone's like, it's 2 a.m.
He's like, chop chop, motherfuckers.
Yep, fuck you. And they're like, we're not gonna sleep. And he's like, I am. 2 hours, baby. Wake me up.
And so the next morning, everyone is like,
we hate you.
Except for Talmanes, who's just like, let's do it.
Talmanes, who is ready to go.
Yeah. Darid's asleep in the saddle.
That's relatable.
Yeah. I just love the boys.
I love the Band of the Red Hand. They're so delightful. This whole... Matt is like, we pick up with Matt sitting in this inn, being sweaty, trying to drink away his sorrows. He's like, I can drink as much as I want because I just sweat it out immediately, which is horrifying.
Yeah.
He is trying to flirt with this random chick at the inn, who herself is kind of iconic. Matt is like, I cannot, for the life of me, I cannot tell if she's a huge idiot or, like, just dancing around me.
Yeah.
Incredibly intelligent. Because she just talks Matt's ear off, totally throws him off his game.
Yeah.
But really loves to dance with him, which is what he gets into.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to see Matt dancing. It's very cute. Especially because he's got all these, like, weird archaic dances.
Yeah. They're just, like, leaping around.
That I imagine everyone's just like, what the fuck?
What a fancy
What a
dancer.
fancy lad.
Yeah.
This woman is also very handsy, though, which is sort of the theme with Matt.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, she's very, like, sweet, generally, but, like, as soon as she starts talking to Matt, she's pulling his scarf down and taking the necklace out of his shirt. And
Yeah,
just,
it
like,
says she, like, fishes the medallion out of his open shirt, which means she's just, like,
in his
sticking her hand in there.
Yeah.
And it's like, first of all, girl, the sweat.
Yeah, you just come out, like
Ugh.
Luke
Dripping.
Man from the Watchmen.
So nasty. And also just, like, you can't just reach into someone's shirt.
Just because he's trying to flirt with you doesn't mean he's consented to have you just, like, inside of his clothes.
Although Matt does also try and kiss her a bunch of times.
Yeah,
So
good point.
either, you know, it's not great. It's Robert Jordan trying to have, you know, one of his funny little look at how women are from Venus and men are from Mars moments. And this time it's at least semi-successful in the rhetoric that Matt is like, is she dumb? Or is she very smart?
Yeah.
Like, that is funny, but everything else is sort of like, ugh.
Maybe just stop trying to touch each other if you are aware the other person doesn't like it.
Yeah. Anyway, but Matt is interrupted from dancing with this girl. He's also been, like, teaching the musicians at this bar, like, old-ass songs.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, like, there's this interesting moment where he's dancing with her where he has this very, like, Anastasia moment, you know, that Once Upon a December song when she's got all the, like, ghosts coming down. Where Matt is just, like, transported to this ball from before the Trolley Wars. And it's like, and after that it all went to fucking hell.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, Jesus.
I hope they do fun stuff like that with Matt in the show.
I know, I think that would be really fun to, like, have him walk into his old memories.
Yeah.
Walk through them a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it could be really interesting visually.
Yeah, you have a lot of really interesting opportunities to do things with Matt and Rand.
Mm-hmm.
Rand with, like, his Lutheran voice in his head. Like, it would be interesting. I know, like, half the point is that Rand doesn't know if it's his own mind or if it's just an auditory, like, if it's an auditory hallucination or, like, an actual thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be so interesting to have a character who plays Lutheran who's just sort of, like, walking around behind Rand in the background all the time.
Yeah.
Like a ghost. Like in The Haunting of Hill House. They do that all the time. There's some ghosts pass in the background.
Or like with Sensei.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just my reference point. I'm just trying to get
Sensei.
in with it.
And yeah, Matt walking through his own memories would be fascinating.
Yeah.
Especially because music is one of the huge triggers for his memories. We see that a lot in this book. But Matt is grabbed by one of his other Terran guys, Adorian, who was one of the guys that Matt played cards with, but seems to have grown up a little bit. Who's like, oh, you're supposed to go on your rounds now. Matt just inspects something different at random every day. So today he's just poking his head into all the inns to make sure the boys are behaving.
Yeah.
And while he's doing this, he stumbles on this, like, altercation. He sort of shoves his way in, and it's like these two hunters of the horn, I guess, who are just, like, shaking little Oliver by the scruff of his neck. And Matt, who is not a fan of child abuse, understandably,
Yeah.
is like, please don't do this. And they're like, we will, because he's a peasant. And Matt is like, fuck you.
Yeah.
And, like, swings his staff up between the dude's legs, which I, like, cannot imagine how crippling that move would fucking be.
Yeah.
Dude's just, like, out.
Yeah.
And he clips the other dude's head, and then is like, okay, what the fuck is up with you, little boy? And Oliver's like, I'm Oliver, and for some reason I'll be relevant in this entire fucking series. Like, it's nice to see Matt interact with a child on the very surface level of seeing that Matt interacts with children in a normal adult way.
Mm-hmm.
That when Oliver is like, talk to me, not over me, Matt is like, yes, I also did not like that. Here, I'm talking to you and I'm going to use reverse psychology on you incredibly easily.
Yeah.
Because I am you on some level.
Yeah.
Like, that's nice. Oliver did not need to be a character after this. We all know this. I have racked my brains, and the only reason I can imagine for him to be there anymore is for him to keep Matt and Abu Dar.
Mm.
But, like, you could have come up with something else, RJ.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Oliver does also eventually blow the horn of Lear, but we have discussed how that shouldn't have happened.
Makes me fucking crazy.
So Matt's like, go get this kid a fucking bath, he smells, to Dorian.
And Dorian's like, I'm not a fucking
And
babysitter.
Dorian's like, okay, up my pay grade. And then Estion.
I love Estion.
I know.
He's so chaotic
Such
and
a-
incompetent.
He's such a dumb fuck.
Yeah.
He shows up and he's like, Matt, there's a big boat. And Matt's like, oh, really? Take me to it. And you go and there's like a whole ass sea folk ship this
Yeah.
far up the river. And Matt's like, wild. And is like, gonna go, I guess, hail it, because he asks for a boat and rowers. But then it sort of like, I don't know what happens. It basically keeps going.
Yeah, they like either like pick up someone or talk to someone and then they're like, goodbye.
Yeah. And this will, I guess this is the same ship that will arrive in Kyrian later and be a bother for quite a while for Rand. Just yet another subplot being introduced. That's like, okay, well, that was weird. He also has this flashback. It's so odd how Matt is the only character who ever gets flashback sequences. I don't know what to make of it. But he's the only one who gets these, like, long italics.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we're frequently catching up with Matt in the middle of things, but I don't know. Further discussion may perhaps be warranted at a later date. But he talks about being in his room, like, taking off his shoes, and then Rand just teleports in. The gateway that we know from Samael can just cut people in half, and Rand's like, I'll just do this in Matt's bedroom.
Matt's like, could you fucking not?
I'm like, what if he cut off one of Matt's toes or something?
Oh no.
Matt would have been like, what? This too?
Yeah. Come on.
Man.
I died in the last book. Twice.
Twice in the last 2 books. But Rand is just acting very crazy.
Yeah.
He's like, what does it mean to love a woman? And Matt's like, fuck if I know.
It's like, what the
Never have.
What are you talking? It's a very charming, like, very, like, back to his
Yeah.
farm boy slang where he's like, how would the pimp do what I know?
Yeah.
Never put my foot in that snare.
That particular snare.
Whatever. And then Ren's like, okay, never mind. Matt's like, could you?
Rand's like, we have to be sneaky. Samael can't know what we're doing. And Matt's like, I made the plan, Rand. I know what I'm doing.
Yep.
It's just like the most batshit thing.
Yeah.
But it is just Matt, once again, being like, is Rand going insane?
It's why I'm a little crazy.
Will I know when Rand is insane? Because he always just acts like this now.
Yeah.
Well, where do I draw the line?
Yeah.
Whatever. So that evening, Matt, again, dances the night away until at 2 a.m. He's like, alright guys, we're moving out at daylight. And they're all like, what?
That's in like 3 hours.
And he's like, I know, sucks to suck, don't it? And then we, cut to them the next day as they are, in fact, moving out. And Matt is like, we're gonna go so fucking fast. And Talmadge is like, no! That's like, yes. 35 miles a day, which is like so many.
Yeah. He also starts quoting basically Sun Tzu, And Talmadge is like, who?
And Mom's like, in general, I read his book once.
And Talmadge is like, no, you fucking didn't.
Talmadge is like,
I know
you're
you can't
illiterate.
read. That's half of my job.
You can't read, Matt. But Matt is also also giving us little oblique hints as to what the plan is, but again, it's not clear. He does seem to be actually moving toward, where the other people are camped, to lead them, but that all seems to be about, like, distracting Samael. I don't know if Rand is, like, gonna do some SEAL Team 6 thing on Samael, if that's the plan, or what it has to do with Bashir and the Saldians. I don't know. I hope we figure it out one day, because I sure can't remember. It's bothering me, though. But that's that.
Yeah.
In terms of the plot and things that happened. Okay, the next chunk will take us to Nynaeve and Elaine. I know. Tragic. We thought we'd seen the last of these motherfuckers. No, we didn't, but God, they, as a continuing dynamic, are going to plague us for the next few books. Okay. Thanks for listening. Thank you to Glenn McKenzie for our theme song. Thank you to our Patreon supporters. Thanks to Katie McNeil for making that fabulous point about Mazrim Tem and Demandred. And just follow us on Twitter and Instagram and things. I'm sort of losing it. I can feel the energy.
And Tumblr.
And Tumblr, yeah.
That's the next big one. And you can also subscribe on YouTube if you want to listen to the podcast on YouTube for any reason.
Yeah. Thanks again. Do you have a sign off?
Tibble brought tissues into the... I feel like we had about 18 sign-offs.
Bringing tissues into the studio that we did later use when I started laughing hysterically about the hypothetical Game of Thrones Raiders trolley problem. Stupid. Have a good week, everyone. Don't do war crimes.
Bye.
Bye.